Scooby Dooby Doo!
Scoob is a 2020 animated film based on Warner Brothers' beloved Scooby-Doo franchise, serving as a reboot of both their film series as well as the launching point for a Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. And not only that, it would have been their first theatrically released animated film for the series had it not been for quote-unquote recent events. Unfortunately, it became yet another direct-to-video release for them, but with the production value of a Hollywood blockbuster. I absolutely love this franchise and its two previous theatrical films, so needless to say, I was pretty excited for this one. Not only that, but the thought of it starting a cinematic universe seems pretty awesome as well. This means we could finally get things like a new animated Flintstones movie, which is actually something I've been wanting for years, and maybe see them interacting with other Hanna-Barbera characters later on. Unfortunately, after seeing it, all hopes I had for this film were dashed. If this were released to theaters like it was originally planned, I can totally see it being a box office bomb as well as a critical bomb like it is now. Warner Brothers completely missed the mark here to the point where it doesn't feel like a Scooby-Doo film at all. WB, let me give you some advice here. If you want to make another Scooby-Doo movie, more power to you and I will not stop you from doing so. Matter of fact, I don't think I can. But here's the thing. You have to make the mystery the main point of the story and have everything else come second. The only mystery here is, what is the overall mystery that needs to be solved? Actually, I don't think there's one at all. There's plenty of action like previous films in the franchise, but that's not supposed to be the main focus. This feels more like a Marvel knockoff, if anything. While I appreciate putting Scoob and Shaggy at the forefront, give the other members of Mystery Inc. more time to shine. You were so focused on establishing that connected universe that is probably now never going to happen, just like that DC connected universe. You pushed a ton of Scooby-Doo's more iconic elements to the wayside. I'll admit, it was cool to see other Hanna-Barbera characters such as Blue Falcon, Dynamite, Dastardly and Muttley, and Captain Caveman, but if you wanted to do that, just do films centered around them and have them meet Scoob and the gang later on in an Avengers-style team-up. These secondary characters feel like fish out of water and really shouldn't have been there in the first place, since they took the focus away from who the film is supposed to be about. As a result, it feels more like a Blue Falcon meets Scooby-Doo film rather than the other way around. A good Scooby-Doo film places the focus squarely on the Mystery Inc. gang and their interactions with others as they try to solve the main mystery. Without a mystery in that focus, the whole film falls apart in terms of story. Speaking of the gang, they are not completely innocent either since Warner Brothers missed the mark on them as well. The character designs, save for Scooby-Doo, thank God, really didn't translate well into a CGI setting and looked just so unsettling. I get they were trying to balance stylized and realistic elements, but it just came off as creepy and inconsistent in some cases, as some of the background characters looked more realistic and out of place. Not only that, 90% of the film is severely miscast and not a good fit for their roles. The big-name cast do not sound or act like the characters they are portraying at all, and instead spout off pop culture references every 5 seconds to pander to their target demographic.
We're in
IKEA.
the Falcon Fury! Did you say IKEA?
This blue light came down from the sky and beamed them up.
Welcome to the Falcon Fury!
Jinkies! Apparently he's been stealing Netflix by using his mother's account.
That is not fair for the rest of us who have to pay for Netflix.
You have to pay for Netflix? I want The Rock to play me.
Never gonna happen.
In the
Now, here's what I don't get. A large majority of the current Scooby-Doo cast consists of Hollywood actors such as Matthew Lillard and Kate McCucci. Why didn't they bring those guys back for their roles and have either Greta Lyle or Sarah Michelle Gellar from the live-action films reprise Daphne and make Frank Welker reprise his role as Fred in addition to Scooby-Doo? They were more than willing to come back, but WB decided to give them the finger and say, no thanks, your names won't sell this film. Actually, they weren't even contacted about this opportunity and found out after the fact, which led to a ton of rage on Twitter. Come on, WB. Along with them, they should have had Blue Falcon voiced by someone like Patrick Warburton instead of Mark Wahlberg, who honestly cannot act to save his life and comes off as a pretentious, dim-witted moron, kind of like a lot of his other roles. With someone like Warburton, you could have kept the dim-witted personality, but at least there would have been some sort of charm to it. You could play it off similar to like Krunk in The Emperor's New Groove. Overall, it just goes to show that once again, that just because a movie has big names attached to it doesn't mean it will automatically be successful. It only causes a film to be labeled as a soulless cash grab, which this film definitely is. I understand some will present the counter-argument of, it's just a kid's film, don't be so harsh on it. Here's the thing, there are a ton of so-called kids' films from over the years that have a lot more heart and soul poured into them, respect the intelligence of their audience, and don't rely on things such as big names, flashy action sequences with little substance, and pop culture references up the you-know-what to sell their film. Films such as Beauty and the Beast, Secret of Nim, and The Land Before Time managed to hold their own without any mentioned above and remain timeless classics to this day. They emphasize the art of animation rather than the money it can bring in, even though it did bring big bucks as well. Works such as Scoob, however, was purely made to bank on the success of the franchise and seems as soulless and nostalgia-baiting as possible. They simply wanted to bank off the masses who grew up watching Scooby-Doo over the years, such as myself, and the children discovering it for the first time. It seems that Warner Brothers did not put much care, if any, into this production and just shelled it out without a second thought to pander to today's trends. The two live-action movies, as nostalgia-baiting and cash-grabbing as they are as well, had some decent thought put into them and turned out amazingly. They perfectly captured the spirit of the franchise and remain timeless classics to this day. The second one more so. Here's some advice. Even if you are a die-hard Scooby-Doo fan, I would suggest looking somewhere else for a good movie in this series. You're not going to find it here, and you're going to be severely disappointed. Even as a casual moviegoer, you are probably going to be bored out of your mind and or annoyed. The plot overall is disjointed, lacks any heart, and suffers from massive issues in pacing because it is either bouncing around constantly or painfully dragging on. The characters also lack any sort of depth, development, and stray as far away from the source material as possible, and from a design standpoint looks so generic and inconsistent. This movie is honestly not worth one's time and money, and I can't see this leading into anything in the foreseeable future. If you have children, then they might get enjoyment out of this. But other than that, watch something like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island or the aforementioned live-action movies. All in all, what did you think of Scoob? Also, what is either your favorite incarnation of the franchise and or your favorite film in it? Feel free to let me know in the comments below, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I have a lot of future projects coming up, and I can't wait to show you all.
Where are you? We got some work to do now.
Okay, I'll admit there was one good thing about this movie. The BarkBox tie-in.